China has officially leapfrogged the US in AI models. Qwen released two models, Qwen 3.6 Plus and 3.5 Omni, which have absolutely crushed Claude Opus 4.6 and Google's Gemini. Qwen 3.6 can basically do everything Claude Opus 4.6 can do, but 2 to 3 times faster. It's also dramatically cheaper, it's free, and it also is closed source, marking the first time that a Chinese AI model is not open source. This is a signal that China may have finally beaten the US, and we should be concerned about that. We're going to dig into that. In other news, OpenAI has also raised the largest private round ever, $122 billion. We're going to get into all of this and more, but let's start with Qwen.
I think I need to reel it in a little bit. I'm not sure Qwen is crushing the United States just yet. We still have frontier models, so do not panic yet. But there are signs pointing towards a future in which China continues to gain pretty quickly on the US. So one of the most noteworthy things you mentioned is the fact that this model is closed source. This is new. This is different. That we always said when we would discuss Chinese models that the biggest threat, we'd know when they're getting close when they start closed sourcing these models. And clearly they're getting close. They've closed sourced the model. Also, this model is available for free for a limited time, but totally available for free. And it's Opus 4.6 or close to 4.6 level intelligent, right? If we're looking at these benchmarks here, it looks like it beats it in some things. It's a little less proficient in others. And again, these are the Chinese benchmarks, so we're not entirely sure how accurate this is. I suspect it is inaccurate. I suspect it's actually largely a distillation from Opus 4.6 and other frontier models. But yet the results do speak for itself, and they are very impressive, right? Particularly the speed in which they're able to generate high quality tokens. It's a pretty powerful model.
Yeah, so it's about 3 times faster than Opus and much faster versus Gemini. It also has a 1 million context window, which now matches the American frontier models. That's usually typically harder to pull off because it helps give your AI model understanding and memory of what you're talking to it about. And the reason why I would say the benchmarks are probably more accurate than previous benchmark releases is they've been kind of honest about it. So if you look on the left here, Terminal Bench 2.0, which is a regarded benchmark for coding in particular, it surpasses and beats Opus 4.6. But if you look at software engineering as a whole, they admit that Claude Opus 4.6 is still better than them. So I don't know. I think this is a point. This, coupled with the fact that they've closed source, indicates that China might have the edge over here. Now, for those of you who are confused why open source and closed source is a signal that China is getting better, the idea with Chinese AI models was they build an amazing model and they open source it so that it decreases the value, price, and stock equity share of frontier American labs who are typically private and don't open source their models. It also gives an opportunity for anyone and everyone to get access to frontier intelligence and build an amazing AI product. The fact that they are closed sourcing it signals to me 2 things. One, they've figured out a way to leapfrog America, maybe not in this particular model, but in the next version model that they release, and they don't want that proprietary information going out. And 2, I don't think they need to rely on American models much in terms of copying the types of designs or research that they do. So I think they're finally caught up. It might be a Hail Mary, it might be incorrect, but I think this is another DeepSeek moment.
Yeah, they're doing really well. And this is only one of 2 models that were released this week that were very impressive. The second one being Qwen 3.5 Omni model, which does video, audio, vibe coding. So this is multimodal vibe code. Can you explain to me what's happening here?
Okay, instead of explaining, let me just explain what's happening on the screen. For those of you who are listening, I am staring at probably a drawing that looks like a 2-year-old's drawn it. It's of a website, but it's just a bunch of boxes that someone has sketched out. And it's a video of him explaining what each of the boxes should be. He's saying, hey, there should be a video of someone explaining my product. And then on the right here, this particular box should have some text explaining how my product works. And then the box in the bottom left should be the pricing and allow people to kind of purchase my product. But literally what we're looking at right now is a marker pen with boxes around it. This does not exist. This is on paper. This is a physical thing. And now what you see is him feeding this into this new model called Qwen 3.5 Omni, and it understands everything he's saying. It understands the vision that he has through his sketch, and it codes up a fresh website from scratch in seconds. It's called audio visual vibe coding, and this is the first instance of this ever happening.
I will say, perhaps the models aren't always better, but the demos are always pretty strong. Yeah. And I think the demos really carry a lot of weight when it comes to evaluating models, because if you are given a clear use case that a model is particularly good at, like this, I mean, that's a really fun selling point and a really compelling selling point. There's one other demo from this model that I thought was pretty impressive, right?
Yeah, so it's an omni model, which means it's not just visual, but it's also audio. It contains other types of mediums. And in this particular demo, an issue that people have is they like to speak with their AI model. But sometimes when they're agreeing with the AI model or they say something, the model interrupts or thinks it's getting interrupted and stops giving you the information that you want. It becomes really annoying. They've developed this type of model where you can interrupt it and it knows when you're actually trying to interrupt it and when it can just continue. So I'll show you a little clip over here.
Could you give me a brief overview of this file, please?
This document primarily discusses the Qwen 3 series of models. Its most prominent feature is the ability to autonomously decide whether to respond quickly or engage in deep reasoning.
So there's a few things I want to point out here. Number one,
you got to explain why this is important because that seems so lame. It's like, obviously it's not answering.
Okay, this is actually really cool. Okay, so there's a few things going on here. Number one, he is scrolling through a research paper on his laptop and he's holding his phone, which contains this model, and he's got the camera feed on. So he's showing the pages that he's scrolling through. This model is reading this entire paper as he scrolls through, so much faster than a human can. It's digesting and understanding what it's reading, and then it's summarizing all the key points to him. But as he's listening to her speak about what it's seeing on the screen, he's saying, oh, I see. Oh, that's interesting. Now, typically when you have a human conversation with someone and you're making those same comments, the human doesn't stop talking and telling you the information that you want it to hear. But this model is smart. It understands that he's not trying to interrupt it, and it just continues flowing and speaking smoothly, which I think is a breakthrough. It's super cool.
Yeah, very impressive model. And this isn't the only news out of China. Also, there's another team. Okay, this team, I'm trying to figure out how to pronounce this.
Say the name, Josh.
So it says Jipu, but I'm aware that it's not actually pronounced Jipu.
It is Jipu.
Jipu. So
Jipu.
Okay, so so China is now good enough at building models that we're learning their dialect because we have to reference it that frequently. So that's probably a high signal. If we're having Chinese lessons on the show from Ijaz, then China's getting pretty good. What makes this new Jipu released model so impressive here?
So GLM, which is their flagship model, has kind of been similar to Qwen in terms of capabilities, reasoning, coding. And when we looked at the Qwen models just now, we saw it go from a simple sketch, a handwritten sketch, to a fully functioning web app, coded in real time in a couple of seconds. And you might think, that's just one AI lab. They just got lucky. Who cares? We can crush them in the future. What you're seeing on your screen right now is another entirely different AI lab, which released their own model this week, and it does the exact same thing, sketch to code. So the point is, whether these Chinese labs are working together or not, whether they're training on the same hardware or they're not, they're able to achieve the same frontier research and breakthroughs around the same time, which is the reason why I think this isn't just a one-off. I think China is collectively caught up with the US and are posing a significant threat.
Yeah, this is it's very impressive what they're doing. And this comes off the back of a lot of drama, I guess. I was hearing rumors that some of the developers from Manus, the company that was acquired by Facebook, were not allowed to leave the country.
Yep.
And this is happening with a few other AI labs. I think Qwen might be one of them, or DeepSeek, where the developers are they've become government assets, if you will, in a way that is a little unnerving, but progress is getting good. So it's at the point now where, we're still ahead. I'm telling you right now, China does not have capybara. Because if they did, they'd probably be doing some serious damage. But they are making some serious progress. And also, another company making serious progress is our good pals at Google, who just as we started recording this, released Gemma 4.0. This is a purpose-built model for advanced reasoning and agentic workflows on the hardware that you own. The thing that is optimized into Gemma is the model performance per bit. It's like how much intelligence can you get per bit of information? And according to this chart, it's very, very high.
Yeah. So if we look at this chart, it's showing that Gemma 4, which is the recent model, is only it comes in two versions, a 31 billion parameter model and a 26 billion parameter model. So that is significantly small when you consider that Capybara, the next Anthropic model that you just mentioned, is probably in order of magnitude higher. It's 5 to 10 trillion parameters. So it's a much smaller model. but it keeps up with some of the bigger models, specifically the Chinese AI models that we were just talking about. So if you look on the right over here, we've got GLM5, Kimi K 2.5, and Qwen 3.5, which are each around 400 billion to a trillion parameters large. So the amount of intelligence per square density, is not the right term, is really high with Gemma 4. And it's cool to see American labs releasing open source models.
Yeah, so shout out to Google. We have another shout out this week for another American company that goes by the name of OpenAI. You may have heard of them. They just closed the largest funding round in history. No one's ever raised more money than OpenAI just did at $122 billion in committed capital. It's important to note that this capital has not been inserted into a bank account. This is committed capital at an $852 billion post-money valuation. Now, there's some highlights here. Amazon is putting in $50 billion, which is ironic because OpenAI signed a $100 billion AWS deal. NVIDIA is putting in $30 billion, which is ironic because OpenAI runs on NVIDIA GPUs. SoftBank is putting in $30 billion, which is ironic because they're building Stargate together. So there's a lot of this circular economic element to this. I mean, $35 billion of Amazon's investment is just contingent on OpenAI achieving AGI or going public. So this leads us to the natural conclusion. Well, this is their final hurrah before they go public. This is the last private round that we will ever see. This is the largest of all time before their blockbuster IPO sometime possibly later this year.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't know if the public is buying it. Bloomberg released a report this week which claims that OpenAI shares have fallen out of favor on the secondary market. And can you guess which company, Josh, it's fallen in favor of?
Oh, surely it's Anthropic.
Ding, 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 ding.
Pretty cool new kid on the block.
Yeah, although Anthropic and the Claude team have had a nightmare in security this week and done two very important leaks, the public doesn't care. They still want all of that Anthropic shares and equity, and they're selling or willing to sell OpenAI secondary shares in favor of this. But there is still some cool news from the raise, Josh. Did you know that $3 billion of the $122 billion raised was available for individual investors, not retail investors, but individual investors to invest in? They were able to get exposure through their banks. Now, I don't know which banks. I don't know what the vetting process was like, but the fact is OpenAI did not know who these individual investors were, but they offered up $3 billion to allow retail to get access to. But I think you needed to be an accredited investor. So it kind of sucked in that respect, but they kind of threw the retail audience who didn't get access to the $3 billion a bone by claiming in this latest fundraising round that ARK Invest, which has several ETFs which give you exposure to private AI companies, they're going to add a bunch of OpenAI equity stock to that, which I actually don't think is a good bit of news given the VCX drama from last week.
Can we talk about that private fundraising round? Wait, so who is available? Because I never heard of this.
Yeah.
I had no idea that it was even possible for money to be raised by individuals who are now on the cap table. That's pretty cool. I would have loved to have participated in that.
Same.
I think the ARK news here is interesting because the day that word came out that secondary shares are having a little bit of trouble being liquid, ARK decided to add those secondary shares into a public venture fund. Like, oh, we've had enough of this now. We're done with this toy. Now the public retail market can get access to it. And that's kind of what happened. Perhaps the timing is ironic, but it's certainly a bit coincidental that 3 of the new ARK Invest ETFs included these OpenAI shares on the back of the most recent fundraising round and the rumor that it is becoming increasingly difficult to offload these shares. So the market, I mean, I don't want to say it's getting frothy. It's just growing remarkably fast. And it is showing some signs of trouble, I guess, in paradise to some extent. I mean, again, all of this is pretty warranted and justified, but it is important to note that these are commitments. Again, like they did not close this money. These are commitments. And we've seen what happens when commitments happen. OpenAI has committed to buying a whole bunch of RAM that they're no longer buying. And the price of memory the last couple of weeks has not collapsed, but it has returned to very high levels instead of unfathomably high levels. So there is a lot of work that's being held in that commitment word. But nonetheless, congratulations to OpenAI. $122 billion. That's more than anyone's ever raised in history. And it's a really big deal.
A lot of the capital was raised from the likes of NVIDIA, Amazon, and presumably all that money is going to go back to them in the form of compute. OpenAI president Greg Brockman went on an interview, I think like yesterday, and basically said, we're focusing all our resources on compute. Compute and scaling laws are definitely intact. And he says, quote, if I could get my hands on all of the compute in the world and purchase it, I would do it because it's become a positive revenue cost center. So OpenAI thoroughly believes that more compute that they have equals to more revenue, and that trend isn't going to break anytime soon. So we'll see if that pays off. This is a pretty big bet.
Foot on the gas, up only, man. I'm still bullish. I am still very bullish. I'm also bullish on Claude, which had a new update this week in terms of computer use, right? Now it's like pretty much capable of doing anything on your computer for you. This is OpenClaw Claude edition, and it seems to be working pretty well. I was actually playing around with it. It's really cool.
It's good. It's good. Okay, so it seems to be every single week, heck, every single day, Anthropic has released a new feature, and they've done that for the last, I believe, 18 days, which is just an insane feat for any frontier startup or company alone. But the point is, these features collectively together have automated a very important thing, which is the entire software engineering role. And I'm not dramatizing this. Previously, we had Claude Code, the most popular Claude product, arguably, earning billions of dollars for them every single month. But it just generated the code. You would then need to launch the app that it had built, test the app out yourself. You would need to run a bunch of tests, give feedback to Claude, and it would still need or require a human in the loop. This update, computer use, completely removes it from you. And I actually summarized it in a tweet here where it basically says, Claude writes the code for you, then it opens up the app that it coded, then it clicks through the entire app and finds the bugs that it itself created, does the security testing and everything, then it fixes the bug and improves the app. Now, if you consider the fact that Anthropic also released a remote control feature where you can basically text Claude from your phone and you don't even need to be anywhere near your terminal, you start to see how you can just message it and come back a few hours later to a fully fledged app that has been reiterated, tested a bunch of times with real human feedback or agentic feedback, and you just have an award-winning product in a couple of hours or maybe even a couple of weeks. It's just insane. It's cool.
The claudification of everything has been a prominent theme of everything that has been released over the last few weeks. And I mean, we have new news from Manus as well, where they just rolled out remote phone control for your desktop. So if you are running an instance of Manus, you can just text your computer from the go on your smartphone, and it will, again, take over your computer, do all of the computer use things that you expect from a product like OpenClaw, except they're rolling it out themselves. So there's a lot of this claudification. I think it's great. This is like the transition into the operating system, AI first OS type progress. And it's really exciting to see. Now, on this agenda here, we have something that says Anthropic Leak 2. Is there another Anthropic leak? What else has happened? We've been talking about Anthropic leaks all week.
No, I just wanted to point out that like it all looks really rosy with Anthropic, but they've just come off like a nightmare of a week. 2 leaks in a week, the second one being the largest one that I'm showing on screen. The entire source code of Claude Code is now or was openly available. And I think it had, by the end of the day, 90,000 forks, which means that it's living on at least 90,000 devices, which is just insane to think about. And if you want to understand how crazy this is and also the secret features and products that they're about to release that were revealed in the code, we created an entire episode about this. Definitely go check that out and watch it. We reveal all the details there. But the point being is Anthropic is kind of succeeding and winning in a lot of different ways, but they might be running too fast for themselves. They're building everything. I think 100% of the features that they build now is using Claude Code. So it might also leave them up to exposure and weaknesses such as this.
I love it. Move fast and break things, man. Just get stuff out the door. If it doesn't work, you'll fix it in hindsight. Yeah. I mean, sure, this was a big L, but then they automate this approval process. I saw Boris, the person who created Claude Code, he actually addressed this publicly on X, and he said, it was a single person. It was an honest mistake. They've built in implementations for that to no longer happen again, and they're just going to keep moving on. And I really respect the velocity and the transparency that they've been doing as they just get all the stuff out the door. Velocity is such a big thing. There's a company who has absolutely zero velocity, perhaps even negative velocity, that we're going to talk about next, which is Microsoft, who has launched a product using Claude. And when I first read this headline, I was a little confused because if my memory serves me correctly, Microsoft owns they're the largest single shareholder in OpenAI by an incredibly large margin, and 31%, and that gives them access exclusively to all of the OpenAI IP. They have internal access to all of the models. So please explain to me why Microsoft aside from them not making anything valuable in the world of AI, why are they choosing to use Claude as their provider of choice instead of ChatGPT?
I have a simple answer for this. It may sound biased, probably because I am a little biased. I think Claude is just better for certain use cases. I'm not going to say all use cases, but for certain things. This isn't the first product that they've launched that is powered by Claude. There is one product that they released 2 weeks ago called Microsoft Cowork. Does that name sound familiar to you, Josh? Cowork?
Yeah, I've used Cowork and Claude for the last couple of months, actually.
There you go. So they released an entire blog post talking about how they have managed to automate a bunch of desktop tasks. So basically, Microsoft's feature takes over your desktop and can do a bunch of things like operating your browser, opening up files, a bunch of cool stuff like that. And right at the end of the blog post, in tiny little print, it said, oh, by the way, this is powered by Anthropic's Claude Cowork model. And now today, or this week, they announced 2 new products. It's called Microsoft Critique and Microsoft Counsel. It is a deep research feature, which basically is now state of the art in terms of research. You can ask Microsoft's feature, critique, or counsel a question, and it does a ton of research, really high quality, and the answers and outputs are very, very impressive. You can get access to it via Copilot. But what's interesting is it's powered by 2 models, Claude and ChatGPT. And the way that it works is arguably the most interesting part. They spin up a bunch of instances of Claude and a bunch of instances of ChatGPT and get them to talk to each other. One produces the research, one reviews the research. By the end of the back and forth process, you end up with an amazingly perfectly polished research article or paper. And I actually think that this is cool because it shows that running multiple instances of AI models and agents are actually a better way to have a better product.
You know, my favorite Microsoft news of the week, it just happened on the spaceship, the Artemis mission. They were live streaming the live comms and they're using Microsoft Outlook, and all of the instances crashed and they couldn't figure out how to get them to work or to open, and they were trying to remote into them and the software is falling apart. And I think that's a testament to kind of where Microsoft is right now in the world of AI. It's just clunky, very slow moving, and very corporate, I guess would be a good way of describing them. Now, the next topic we're going to talk about, my BS meter is going crazy. I'm like, there's no way this is right. This seems like they're using a lot of big words. The 2 words that this company has strung together is electromagnetic superintelligence. Generally, when people speak like this, it's veiled in a lot of complexity that might not be true. Can you explain what on earth is going on with this electromagnetism story?
Yes. Okay. So this company, or startup rather, has come out of stealth claiming to have built a new type of AI model. It is called an electromagnetic AI model. And what it does is you can describe the type of electromagnetic behavior that you want, and it will generate the physical shapes and structures, a high fidelity design that will produce those electromagnetic signals. Now, you might be asking, who the hell cares? Why would I care about this particular model? Well, if you are building antennas, if you are scaling 5G and 6G, but most importantly, if you're designing AI chips in particular, which requires microscopic attention to detail, shapes that allow these transistors to talk to each other, you need help in terms of an AI model describing that. Now, previous models, they tested this with Claude Opus 4.6 and GPT 5.4, can't get to the precise design because it doesn't actually understand how the physics of these AI chips and transistors works. Now, this company is claiming that their model does exactly that, and they had a demo chip which they portrayed in their video or opening announcement demo. Now, I don't know whether this chip works, but if it does, it might be able to automate the most important and valuable company in the world right now, NVIDIA, who spends all their money, and TSMC, designing all these next-gen GPUs and chips, and gives them a valuation of $4.5 trillion.
Yeah, okay. So I guess it's one of those things where we'll see. Like, I imagine all of the frontier labs know that this exists. Reading the comment section, it appears as if this is not new research. They've just actually acted on it and are starting to test it. So one of the things that we will keep on the watch list of things to follow along and see how they progress. The next on our agenda list, and stick with us, we have 3 more topics to go, is Oracle apparently fired 30,000 employees. What's going on here?
It's exactly what it says. 30,000 employees, between 20 to 30,000 employees received an email 2 days ago in the morning, basically saying, sorry, you have been laid off. Now, there's a bunch of speculation as to why this is happening. Maybe something to do with the $300 billion partnership deal that they signed with OpenAI and a bunch of other semiconductor companies. Maybe it's something to do with that. Maybe they overstepped. Maybe it's something to do with Stargate's Abilene data center getting shut down because they weren't able to finance it. Oracle and OpenAI were the main partners in that, along with SoftBank. I don't know. How does this look to you, Josh? Is this a warning signal? Is the bubble popping?
No. Every company is grossly overinflated in terms of how many employees it has. Like during COVID in particular, how many companies were hiring like tens of thousands of people per year?
Many.
And for no reason. And I think during that time when it became okay to do remote work and to switch away from in-person stuff, it was just very easy to hire all these new people. Interest rates were zero. It was free money. You can why wouldn't we double our workforce and get more productivity? But now that the reality is setting in that they're really and this isn't even as a result of AI, there's not a need for that amount of workforce in order to do these things. People are just getting laid off. And that's kind of what's happening here is there's just absolutely no need to keep hundreds of thousands of dollars on the payroll that aren't being super productive. We saw that with what company laid everyone
Dorsey,
off?
Square.
Yeah, Jack Dorsey. Square. They laid off people. The stock went up 30%.
40%. Yeah.
40% in one day.
Wait, sorry. They laid off 40% of people, right? And then the stock went up 30%?
I think the stock went up 40% too in the day. Like it was a crazy gain. It was this unbelievable thing. And I think the market is starting to reward efficiency, right? It's obvious you don't need this bloated headcount. A lot of people are not working. They're just getting by on their laptop. A lot of them work remotely. This is just a testament of this recalibration that's happening. And I don't think you should really credit AI with too much of this because a lot of these effects started happening before AI was even good at writing code. Like AI just got good at writing code like 3 months ago. It hasn't been that long and companies haven't even really implemented this in a meaningful way at scale. So I wouldn't worry too much about this.
Josh, can I pull up the Oracle chart for you just to prove your point? I mean, it's nothing major, but it's up. It's up on the week. And this is after like a month of downtrend. So the market's obviously rating that as positive.
Nice. Good. Well, that's a W. Another possible W, I don't know if this is a W or not, is the Meta glasses news. You know I'm the biggest hater of these glasses. I'm becoming the biggest Meta hater ever.
Okay.
Because like Meta, why am I calling you Meta when you just canceled your Meta division? But we have new glasses news. What's going on with these glasses?
Okay. Listen, let's not hype this up too much. It is an optically friendly pair of their AI glasses. So typically, if you had eyesight issues and you required prescription glasses, you couldn't use this. Well, guess what, guys? Now you can. But what excites me the most is some of the software updates which are included in this, which involves nutrition tracking, Josh. Now, you know me. I go to the gym quite a bit, and I'm trying to figure out my calories so I can lose a few pounds before the summer. Okay, like I'm being honest. These glasses supposedly can see the things that you're drinking, that you're eating, that you're cooking, and measure the amount of calories that is in the portion of your bowl or that you're making, and can tell you when you've been eating too much or when you need to stop. Now, I don't know if the tech is actually accurate. I remember that there was a company which just got sold to, what's that fitness app, MyFitnessPal? It got sold to them. It was Vibecoded app that basically you can show show your food in a camera and it can basically estimate the calories. It got sold for upwards of $10 billion, I believe, or something crazy like that. Or it was acquired for like between $2 to $10 billion. This is a proving point that maybe something like this could be cool in the future. I don't know if I want to wear Meta glasses though to get this feature. I would rather just use my phone.
I don't believe them. I don't believe a word that they say. I think the last time when they came out and they revealed these Meta Ray-Ban glasses, they went on stage and they actually had to demo it in real time in front of everyone. Every single demo failed. It was a nightmare. And I just can't trust a company that continues to fail over and over at all of these promises that they share. It's like our Meta promise, our glasses promise, all these promises are just unfulfilled. And where's the AI? They've spent billions of dollars. There is none. So I'm remaining the biggest Meta hater. I am a Zuckerberg lover. I hope he can figure it out. He's an incredible CEO and an operator. He is running a company that he founded, and I'm so bullish on it. But man, I will not be participating in these glasses.
Well, something is working. They said on their last quarterly earnings they're on track to sell 20 to 30 million units of these this year. I don't know who the hell is buying that, but they have some kind of a market. And I do believe that glasses will be one of the main form factors for AI. So we will see. But on our last news story, Valor Atomics raised a crazy round.
Yes.
What's happening here?
Yes, this is huge. If you made it this far in the episode, chances are you are a real one. You are an OG. You have been listening to the show. You love this show. And if you've been around for long enough, you were here when we interviewed the CEO of Valor Atomics, Isaiah Taylor. Since then, the valuation of Valor Atomics has gone up, I think, 27x. And it has come to a point in which they have just concluded their $450 million in fundraising at a $2 billion valuation. Valor Atomics, for those who are not familiar, create modular nuclear reactors. What you're seeing on screen is a little image of what this reactor looks like. And it's just this tiny little thing you could put next to a data center and power it using clean, reusable nuclear energy in this very beautiful package. They were the first private company ever to have a successful version of nuclear energy. They actually used a radioactive isotope. They generated energy from it, and things seem to be going very well. So for those of you who haven't seen that episode, it is still timely. It is still relevant with Isaiah Taylor. You can find it linked in the description below. But just a congratulations to the team at Valor who are building some badass technology and getting rewarded for it. And I think it's just a nice way to wrap up the week here is with the big win for the people building the frontier of technology and what's possible.
Would it have not been nice, Josh, if we could have invested or even helped our audience and our listeners invest back then? 27x? That's insane.
It's pretty good. Yeah. According to Claude, at least, the Limitless portfolio of when guests have come on versus where they're at now has been pretty good. We've hit every single one. All of the companies have done incredibly well. And it's really exciting. Isaiah's a great dude, really ambitious, really smart, really talented, along with the entire rest of the team. So a nice win to round up our week with. And I think that concludes everything for the week. We've covered a lot of ground this week. There is so much stuff that happened, as it always does, right? We are on the frontiers of the hottest industry in the world. But if you've listened to all of the episodes, if you made it this far through the end of our final episode, you're caught up. You can go touch grass this weekend. You're done. Yeah. You could just wipe your hands clean. You know everything that's going on. Go share it with your friends. Share this episode with your friends if you enjoyed it. And thanks so much for joining us for another amazing week.
And I will just say, if you are listening to this and you are a startup founder that is roughly valued between 10 to maybe $100 million and you're going on to your next round, hey, maybe reach out to us. Maybe we'll platform you. You see the effect that we have. We're also looking for additional sponsors as well. So if this sounds like your shtick, please reach out. We would love to hear from you.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, on that note, thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll catch you guys next week.
See you guys.